Hi everyone, welcome back. Uh, Today we are moving into an important discussion about uh, another topic of alternative English. And this discussion is all about education, literature, and emotion. So that are inspired by a compelling or called as uh, one of the most important texts from the alternative English, um, which is written by Claire Needell Hollander, right? So if you talk about that, she's an English teacher and also author. Um, we are going to explore why such kind of a text is essential and in this particular topic, how the author, means Claire Needell Hollander, means gives the kind of or explores means about the emotional engagement and how that emotional engagement is essential in learning English literature and how current educational standards uh, is doing nothing but making us disappointment. Uh, how it is a disappointment because of it's nothing but means the process of teaching, isn't it? So that is what you would find out in this particular text. Let's understand that the missing uh, ideas, or you can say that the educational standards, which is missing the kind of a mark. Okay, so before we jump into it, let me point out about Claire Needle Hollander, so who is a teacher and teaches at a public middle school, right, in Manhattan, and has written a young adult novel titled, you can say something right behind her. But if you talk about that, this particular topic, no learning without feeling, is a very interesting one, and you could say that what this becomes also part of that or an excerpt to it. So Claire Needle, her dual experience as a teacher and author, gives her a unique perspective on how students interact with the literature, isn't it? So in her text, if you say, uh, Hollander shares a touching moment, right? Uh, where she pointed that means her touching moment with a student, right? So who connected deeply with means Langston Hughes. So Langston Hughes is again called as another poet of a poem called The Very Blue. So this student to whom Hollander means had a touching moment. So the author said that what how this student felt a genuine or authentic emotional response, right, and highlighting the power of literature to evoke real or influence real everyday feelings, right? So if you say that the story begins with by stating that it is sad, they sat the kid at the far table told me, but it's my favorite point. We walked on. He was talking about the very blues, isn't it? So if you see that what this suggests about author's connection to the boy, right? Um, because of the kind of a literature, right? So because of the kind of a literature means the poem that the boy was reading and how then the boy feels, right? And that's what is nothing but the author sitting next to him, listening to it. So Hollander, so the story goes on, and the author stated that how means Hollander argues that such emotional connections between what such emotional connections between you could say that the boy with the poem, right, are crucial in learning, right? Middle school students, in particular, are drawn to emotionally powerful books, right? So our drawn means are attracted to emotional powerful books. So this engagement can make learning personal and also you can say profound, right or not? However, if you talk about that, um, the author who pointed here, uh, this engagement can make learning personal and profound. However, she points out that the common course state standards. So common core state standards means that called as CCSS, which are adopted in a way now 45 states, isn't it? Which are adopted in a way means of 45 states. Unfortunately, does what means focus heavily on specific reading and writing skills rather than emotional impact of literature, right? So if I talk about that the common core list, right, detailed skills. So students need what? The students need to develop the common core list detailed skills students need to develop, but it provides only a short list of what safe text. I say FE, safe text. So like Little Omen, these standards are meant to prepare students for standardized tests, but Hollander believes this approach can overwhelm teachers and take away the joy and depth of reading meaningful literature, right? So you can say that what Hollander criticizes the use of agnostic text, right? So when I say that agnostic text means what? So which means called as a doesn't care. So what the importance of it, right? The author wanted to point out that um, these agnostic texts, like neutral, unengaging text, designed for what? The test preparation, right? These texts don't inspire or challenge students emotionally, which she argues, or the author argues, is essential for what? Authentic learning, and you can say that what? Critical thinking, isn't it? Authentic learning and critical thinking. Now, she fears that what by avoiding emotionally charged and potentially controversial literature, we are doing nothing but reducing students to go for the passive learning, right? So she pointed that rather than we go for the active, engaged readers, instead she calls for what? Instead, she calls for a curriculum that includes important literary works that understand with the students, preparing them for the complex text they will encounter in schools or colleges, isn't it? So what we can find out, Hollander believes that real works of art like Alice Walker's Color Purple. So if you talk about that, he takes different types of examples, and these different types of examples uh, have been taken from the literature section. So whether you talk about Hughes, Alice Walker's, so these are the poets and the writers, and they're writing the color blues or the color purple. The very blues or the color purple. So these are nothing but the writing, and these writings are nothing but making a connection with the readers, offer the deep philosophical, psychological, and moral meanings that students, need to explore, right? And these texts are, very important for developing high level of thinking and emotional intelligence, isn't it? So, what is the uh, what is the takeaway actually through this writing that the author want to point out? So, according to the Claire Needell Hollander, so the message is clear that what to truly educate our students, we must engage the students' emotions and provide them with a meaningful thought-provoking literature, right? So the current focus on what skills and standardizing testing. So that are nothing but missing the mark, right? And it is time to what we need to reevaluate our approach to make sure that literature keeps its powerful role in education, right? So uh, those of the things are highly essential. That's what the author wanted to point out when the when when she refers to this particular means a topic which is called as a no learning without feeling. So you can see that the title of the text, right, which is very clearly means elaborating the message, right? But based on the content, you would find out a fitting title uh, that is, indicating to the emotional core of education. Why skills-based standard falls short in teaching literature? Why skills-based standards fall short in teaching literature? So, and if you talk about that, the emotional core of education, right, highlights the central argument that emotional engagement is nothing but crucial. Crucial in what? Crucial in teaching literature, which forms the core of what? Effective literary education. Why skills-based standards fall short? This segment addressed the critique of the common core, right? Common core state standards and their focus on technical skills, which according to the author means doing nothing but neglects what? Neglects the importance of emotional and meaningful literary experiences. So therefore, if you talk about the title is justified. The main idea and objective of the text that emphasizes the importance of what emotions in learning and criticizing the current standards for not, you can say that, adequately addressing this aspect. So if you talk about uh, the kind of a way that the author presents it. So the author's tone, right, throughout the text is nothing but seeming critical, right? Critical and reflective. So critical and reflective means that's something called as a she generally criticizes and also remembering what the kind of things are needed. So Claire Needell Hollander uh, critics whom critics the CCS, right? That called as a common core state standard, right? And a standardizing test for their, focus on technical skills at the expense of what? Meaningful literary segments. Her tone is also passionate and you can say concerned as she advocates for a more overall development approach to teaching literature that gives value, emotional connection, and personal engagement. So, additionally, you can say that there is an element of frustration with the um, current educational system and a call to action for changing this kind of a process, right? So that is what the author's object, you can say, author's means comment onto it and also reflection onto it. So but as a reader, if I read the kind of a statement or read the kind of a essay, so what I can feel like the objective of the text is to what? Argue the same as the author, right? The current emphasis on skill-based standard and standardizing testing in education, so particularly through the CCSS, weakening the role of emotionally engaging literature in education, in students, isn't it? In students' learning. So Claire Needle Hollander, you can say that aims to highlight the importance of what? Importance of choosing meaningful and emotionally impactful text. So to nurture or to take care deeper connections and critical thinking in students, right? She advocates for a what? Shift in educational practices to prioritize or um, giving importance to what? giving importance to literary experiences that you can say that resonates or solves. Um, what do we can say that um, you can say that solves personally with the students' learning experience. So, therefore, enhancing their overall learning and preparation for future academic challenges. Right. So, if I talk about the main idea of the text, so the main idea of the text is that emotional engagement is crucial in teaching literature, but the Common Core State Standard overly emphasize technical skills and standardizing testing at the expense of a meaningful, emotionally impactful reading experiences. So Claire Needell Hollander argues that this focus on skill acquisition and agnostic test. So the meaning of agnostic text is called as it doesn't matter means what you are reading, you simply go for the mugging up. So weakening the role of literature in nurturing deep personal connections and critical thinking in students, right? So uh, means she witnessed for a more developmental approach that include important emotionally charged literary work to better engage students and prepare them for high level learning, isn't it? So if I go for the same thing, you would draw from this particular text. I hope you understand this. So the author argues that language learning is unique, right? Because it shapes and it's shaped by who we are. Therefore, you can say that selecting meaningful text is crucial. Hollander fears that what the skill-based approach of the CCSS, which avoids controversial or emotionally charged literature, is reducing students to uh, means you can say that passive recipients of education rather than active, engaged readers. Right? She calls for a shift towards including more. You can say that significant literary works in education to prepare students for the complex text they will meet in where they will meet in college and to um, nurture genuine emotionally rich learning experience. So um, that is what you would find out when so from our kind of topic, right? So let me just give you a small means a summary of the text. So when I start uh, this particular topic reading, so what do I find out? Means the story begins with how a student told the author that The Very Blues by Langston Hughes was his favorite poem, even though it made him sad. He thought feeling he thought what he thought feeling sadness was normal, right? So sadness feeling was something called as a normal, which made sense to him. So the author enjoys when she find out that her students feel deeply about what they read because it makes their learning, you can say that personal, right? Middle school students often choose emotionally powerful books, taking emotional risks uh, just as they take physical ones, right? So you can say that what um, for teachers, emotions help engage students in learning, and that's what means the author finds out. But at the same time, means when we talk about the CCSS, what is that? There's a common core state standard that emphasizes what? Specific reading and writing skills, specific reading and writing skills rather than the emotional impact of literature, right? So, and these standards have been adopted in a way, you can say that in 45 states, right? In 45 states. In 45 states. Unfortunately, the authors of the standards are not particularly interested in emotional risk taking, but rather in the avoidance of what? Political risk. It is rather bloodless effort, isn't it? So you can see that what it's easier to agree on what skills students need rather than what they should read. As a result, the CCSS offers only a brief list of, say, classic tests like Little Omen, isn't it? So, and also stated about the standardized test or you can say that what the standard list. Mm, Many details skills which can overwhelm teachers. So, a colleague of the author also mentioned it's difficult to avoid what teaching these skills than to make sure they are all covered, right? Many skills listed in the standards are obvious and overly, you can say that, complicated, right or not? So, uh, high stake test and also the skills based focus on the CCSS are reducing the importance of what literature in English classes, right? Instead, students are reading agnostic text, right? The text which does not create any kind of a feeling, isn't it? So that's why the author stated that it is designed to neutral, not and not interesting. You can say that disinteresting, isn't it? So and also pointed that just to test verbal skills without any bias, right? There are many such texts available for different grade levels, but there is no discussion about which text should the students should be chosen for chosen to read. So students natural curiosity and emotions are nothing but ignored, right? So, and they receive lessons designed to teach abstract language skills. So, the author wanted to point out that the CCSS author, right, did not intend to what diminish literature's role, but their focus on measurable skills, which is overshadowing the importance of experiencing literature. Right. So the standards do not prioritize whether students read meaningful texts like Shakespeare's of Salinger, as long as the text is complex, right? You can say that. Uh, New teachers, you may find out that might rely on prepared materials to make sure students practice skills in a way that fits the standards rather than engaging, um, you can say, deeply with the real literature. So, uh, you if you observe that what a language shapes who we are, so teaching it is different from other subjects, right? So choosing the right text is crucial, but educational leaders avoid discussing what literature should be included, isn't it? um, so the author's concerns is that we are avoiding meaningful, sometimes uncomfortable literary works, which are essential for real learning. The CCSS lists skill instead of specific books to avoid controversy. You can say that um, uh, uh, books to you can say avoid controversy, and this makes students passive recipients of exercises rather than active learners engaging with nothing but challenging text. So in college you would find out that students read complex text without standardized text, and that's why the author suggested that uh, we should prepare high school students for this by discussing what they should read and make sure tests are based on these meaningful texts. Right? Language learning must happen in a meaningful context, driven by emotions and real life experiences. Ignoring this makes reading loss or lose much of its purpose. So, means what is the takeaway, right? That the clay needle Hollander, right? So that she wants to send the message. It's clear that to truly educate our students, we must do what? No, we must uh, engage their emotions and provide them with the meaningful, thought-provoking literature. So, and that's why the authors, the current focus on skills and standardized testing misses the mark, right? So, and that is what she is focusing, and she is telling that what how the current situation is losing nothing but losing what losing losing the kind of emotions, whereas focusing more on skills and standardizing test, right? So, and it's time to reevaluate our approach to make sure that literature keeps its powerful role in education, right? So I hope you understood this. So thanks for joining us today. If you found this discussion means insightful, please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos on education and literature. So, and let us know in the comments